Good morning. Welcome to Sports Radio 1310, The Ticket. George DiGianni Train Station Fitness Show. My good friend Kimala Geis is in the studio. Hey.
Good morning.
I love Kimala. I'm going to give you her story here coming up soon. But I've known Kimala for about 18 years. She's lost 140 pounds. We're going to talk about how she did it, what new and unexpected challenges she's experiencing after making a huge transformation. Why? Why am I bringing this to you? Because any of you who intend on making a big transformation in your life, whatever that looks like it could be your weight, it could be your finances, it could be your single life, it could be children, buying a new home. Any huge transformation in your life is going to have consequences, both good and sometimes not so good. So we'll talk about the new unexpected challenges she has had in her life and maybe give you a little insight to what you can expect if you plan on transferring or transforming your health profile, your mentality. How does Kimala perceive others who are averse now to eating and exercise like she once was when I talked with her when she was the producer on Channel 4? How difficult is it for her to stay committed now? That's a great question I have for you coming up. How hard is it for you, and don't answer it now, mentally and emotionally when you are hit with certain triggers? A trigger's pulled, it's the same thing, you're the same person, you're just lighter, you're 140 pounds less weight. How do you deal with it now? And I think that's going to be really important for the listeners today to learn how to cope, how to nurture themselves, and move beyond life's challenges. So coming up next, we'll talk with Kimala Geis and how her story can potentially motivate you to move beyond where you currently are. 703 Sports Radio 1310, The Ticket. 711 Sports Radio 1310, The Ticket. George DiGianni Train Station Fitness Show. My good friend Kimala Geis. I've known you 18 years. Thank you for coming on the show today.
I'm sorry, but I'm only 18 years old, so that's not possible.
That would be difficult. I've known you since you were being born. So
Fetus.
You were the producer of a TV show on Channel 4.
Correct.
And I was doing segments on Channel 4 TV.
Amazing segments.
Thank you so much. Love you. And at the time when I first met Kimala, I'll never forget this. All these years later, I just saw her coming into the studio today, and I see her, and the first thing she said to me when I first saw her was, "My name is Kimala, and you spell it Kim Y La," and then she does the L, and she does these big hand gestures, and I see her do the same thing because I never forgot how to spell your name, and that's your personality. At the time, you were 140 pounds heavier than you are now.
Maybe a couple pounds plus. Absolutely, yeah. I was a little heftier.
You were heftier. You saw this health and fitness guy come in, and he wants to help you out in some way, and he wasn't there for you, but you were completely against anything to do with eating well and exercise because that's where you were at that time.
Yes, I definitely had resistance. The thing is that you're longing to get to a place where you can be healthier, but you don't necessarily know how to get there. And then you meet people like you.
Sure.
And you have all this extraordinary information, and it does make you want to do something, but until you're at that place to actually accept it and be willing to at least take steps towards it, because it doesn't have to be about biting off, this big giant amount of, life-changing experiences that you have to go through. It's really about being willing to take that first step. I mean, it's cliche, but it's true. And so when you meet somebody like you, and you have such a personality yourself, that you get excited about it, but you don't know what to really do about it, especially when you have so many bad choices that you're making on a daily basis. Like, it's just ingrained in your life.
Right.
So,
And
yeah.
you have emotional issues.
Yeah, there's so, and you don't even realize all that. You're just at the surface, and then there's so much more. So, yeah, you came in and had amazing information, but I definitely was not at the point where I was able to accept it. I was definitely resistant, because you would come in and you would try to personally coach me, and I was like, that all sounds great.
Yeah, but I'm not there. I got this from your Facebook page, and I love this mentality you have. Don't diet, decide. And I just want to read a couple of points that you wrote. You talk about finding a path to a healthier you and a happier you. You said, every day I begin anew, and so should you. I've spent the last 3+ decades seeking a better way, even if it's not always the perfect way. In that journey, I have learned what doesn't work for me and what does work for me, and I've learned that it's not about dieting, it's about deciding. One good choice, or even one bad choice layered on top of that, can and will lead to a healthier, happier you carried out over time.
Absolutely.
So it's about making a better choice One of the things that I can identify with, and I've never been fat, but I can identify with people who are in an emotionally bad place, regardless of what they look like or what their health is like. I can relate to them in a way that when someone like me says, which I don't ever say, this is a lifestyle. It's a way of life. The last thing someone like you, your former self, wants to hear, 140 plus pounds heavier, is, oh my God, forever. We just want to get through today. Don't tell me about forever.
It's not even getting through today. I didn't even want to think about, having to sit there and eat salads all day long. And that's what I honestly thought that I had to do in order to achieve change.
No taste.
It's not, I thought, oh my gosh, I was going to have to go on into, a lifelong diet. The thing is that no matter what you put in your mouth, you're on a diet.
Right.
That's it. Get over it. That's all there is to it. But being a child who was put on diet after diet after diet, and I mean a child, I can't even tell you the age I began dieting, but I was 3rd grade.
Did you, now no one needs to, but did your mother, father, guardians see you as someone who was overweight and needed to lose weight? Or was it just their insecurity and said, you don't look like the rest and you need to go on a diet because that's what we do or that's what everybody does?
Well, it started off with the fact that my mother, who was quite thin actually, she had her own battles that she was going through, and she would diet, and of course, she was a single mom, and I got taken on her journey. She thought she was making better choices, but I was going on those diets with her. And I was a little overweight, but if you look back at my pictures when I'm 8 years old, I'm not different from the other kids. Now, as I get older, you start to see, as my issues grow, I grow with them. So age 12, age 13, then I realize, oh my gosh, I'm a really big girl compared to my girlfriends. I go into bulimia.
Before you go further, did you know you were on a diet at 8 or at that young age?
Absolutely.
So you already felt broken, you weren't good enough. I have to be on a diet.
It's not that, it wasn't even that. It's just that I think it was about me being on the diet because my mom was doing the diet and I was doing it with her.
Right.
And so it was already seeing that role modeling put into place.
So go forward. I interrupted. You said, okay, well, all of a sudden bulimia hit you at a certain age then?
Yeah, so age 13, so I was bulimic. That was a whole journey in of itself I won't even dive into. But I lost a lot of weight, became, very thin, got tons of attention for that, and then realized I couldn't maintain it. I didn't want to be bulimic anymore. I saw some friends have some serious issues related to it, so I stopped doing it all by myself. And then, of course, I started ballooning. And then I had to tell my parents, were like, what in the world is going on with you? And finally, out of anger, I yelled at them back, basically saying, I'm bulimic, okay? I was bulimic. I'm not going to be skinny. I'm not meant to be skinny. It's not what I'm supposed to be. And, of course, I got chunked into a hospital for that. So, and from there, I just decided, you know what? I didn't even want to deal with it. I had gone through so much related to my weight loss. I decided, forget it. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to live my life, and if I'm fat, I'm fat. Mm-hmm. And then you see people.
And how many years did you live with that mentality?
Decades.
Really? Was it three plus decades?
Yeah. I mean, of course it's up and down because, of course, you don't stay in that place and you're like, oh, maybe I'll try to lose weight.
Sure. So
then you begin the yo-yo process all over again, which is a vicious cycle.
And so what were your emotional triggers that led you to eating the way you did or treating yourself the way you did? Did you have daily emotional triggers, or was it only when you visited family or talked with family?
I think it's a layering of things that happen. It could be, that you're stressed out, so you eat. Or you go home and you're bored and you eat. I am a boredom eater. I think that's one reason I stay so busy now, is that when I'm bored, I just, hand to mouth. Mm-hmm. So it can be that when I had a bad day, I deserved it. Or I had a great day and I did great things and I deserved it.
Nice.
So you use food as filler, you use it as reward, you use it as boredom, and then you're eating the wrong things because it's convenient. Or maybe you think it's the tastier option because you don't know another way.
So talk about the fat person's mentality. I'm big boned. I have thyroid issues. Did you have the same mentality?
Yeah, I used to always say, oh, well, I have a really slow metabolism because I have abused my body so much. My metabolism is non-existent. And
meanwhile, you weren't exercising.
Meanwhile, I'm not exercising. I'm not eating right. I'm not eating in the morning. I'm not fueling myself properly. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing anything to actually encourage a healthy metabolism, right? But I use that as an excuse. Or, I'm a pretty big girl. I mean, just even now, I'm small as far as...
What do you mean big? How tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
You're 5'10", but you're not big. You're tall.
I'm tall.
Let's change the word about yourself. You're not big.
You're right. I'm not big.
If you were to see Kimala today, I want you to stand up because I put this on YouTube. So go ahead and stand up.
Okay.
Take your jacket off.
Okay.
All right. Take your pants off, your shirt. Is that bad? Is that bad? Is that wrong? Can we have some music here, Dave? You're not doing your job. Anyway, so make bicep muscles for us. Let's show those arms. Good. So you're not a big girl. Okay, you're 140.
Do you honestly think I would ever reveal my weight?
That's a good weight for 5'10" for a female.
You are so close. It's kind of disgusting. But
I'm a disgusting person.
Disgusting.
So then moving forward, you said you made a commitment to yourself not to diet but to decide. If you go to Kimala's Facebook page, Don't Diet, Decide. You made this decision. What did you discover about yourself that made you realize the next diet was not going to work and that you needed to do something different and maybe uncomfortable?
What made me decide to do that? I don't even think that it was like something remarkable. I just got to a place where I had had enough. I decided instead of trying to go on a diet and start exercising and making a change, I decided that I was just going to try adding some new things in. I was going to try eliminating some things. And let's just see how that goes. So the first thing I did, I gave up soda. That's the first thing I did. I tapered off, not by continuing to drink soda, but by bringing in some other drinks that were a little bit lower calorie, didn't have the carbonation, and then I tapered off from that, and I don't drink any sodas, I don't drink any juices, I don't drink any of that. I drink water. Okay, I drink coffee. I'm sorry.
We drink coffee too.
Yeah.
From Papua New Guinea. Go to livingbeyondorganic.com. Christina Avanis, love her website. We use it's a great coffee and it's not acidic.
So that's all I drink. Period. So that was one choice that I made.
Right. So how are you with water today?
I still struggle with it.
Why?
It's it's not like it's sweet. It's not like it's tasty. But at the end of the day, my body craves it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want it. It's not necessarily. I probably would drink coffee all day if I had my druthers, but that's not a great idea. You don't want to do anything in excess.
Right.
Right.
Well, I'm asking because I only drink water. I drink coffee also, but the majority of what I drink is just water. I never veer from that because I like water. And water to me has a taste to it, a good taste.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely does.
And that's why I'm asking you. Your former fat self would have said, water is disgusting, it has no taste. Am I right?
No, and I should probably change how I said that. It's not that I struggle to drink water. Water is fine. It doesn't, just drinking it doesn't bother me. But drinking as much as I should, that's probably where I struggle.
But the taste of water, does it taste different now that you're healthy opposed to when you were unhealthy?
Absolutely. And I also think that, making sure that you're drinking the water that you like. Some people don't like the way that certain water in certain areas taste. You can buy a filtration system for nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many options out there now. I think in some regards, making life changes is easier now than ever. There are so many things at our fingertips, from, having the ability to have, quality water, to even the different applications you can add to your phone.
Sure.
There's so many things. If you just layer them in over time and make better choices over time, you really can make substantial change.
So let's put you in your former self. You're 140, 150, 170 pounds heavier than where you are now. You have, like you said, all of these apps, all of these choices. Do you at that time feel overwhelmed, or do you feel, because there's so much in the news and there's so much to choose from, you don't know which way to go? Or do you feel blessed and say, it doesn't matter what all of this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for one thing that can help me today. Not what you would do today. Back then, would you have felt overwhelmed?
Oh, I can tell you back then I was completely and totally overwhelmed. And I let it overwhelm me.
So
and
where does that fat person begin today? How you say don't diet, decide. I love it. But where do they begin? There's an overwhelming amount of tools we can use. But which way do they go?
Okay, so it depends on where you need to begin. Is it that you need to eliminate things from your life? Okay, if that's what you need to do, let's say you make 3 new choices in a day. You do not look beyond that day. You say, today I'm going to drink, if you drink no water, I'm going to drink 4 glasses of water. If you drink 6 soda pops, okay, Cokes, whatever you want to call them, you are going to eliminate half of those. So instead of having 6 Cokes, you're going to eliminate 3. If you drink certain types of brands, and they vary, I'm going to think about cans, they're 120 to 160 calories.
Okay.
Just think of getting rid of those 3 Cokes, how many calories you just got rid of. And you're not even eliminating Cokes from your life. You're not making massive life changes. You're making 3 small decisions to have a glass of water over 3 of your Cokes, and you can still have that Coke at lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever. So, not that I think that's a great idea, but in your journey to better yourself,
right,
you layer those choices. What can I do? 3 things today to make my life better. And it's not always just about food or about what you drink or deciding to go and walk the block, because once you go out to walk that block, chances are you'll walk a few more, by the way. Just getting out of the house, that is really, for me, that was 80% of it.
Wow.
Literally.
So I mentioned that in my book back in 1998. It was my first book that I wrote, and I've now written 3 of them, and I'm going on my 4th one. My first book was 3 Minutes to a Strong Mind and Fit Body, which is what I think when I was first introduced to you is what I was promoting.
It was, absolutely.
Right? And then I was doing some other TV things that we did, some excerpts. But I wrote in my first book, there's a chapter, small, in there called Progression, Not Perfection. And that's what's most attractive to me today in my life. I've told Samantha that, I tell my friends that I don't want to be perfect, and I'm not looking for someone else in my life to be perfect, whether it's business or relationships, but progressing from where you are today to where you can be tomorrow is very attractive to me. And I remember putting in there, if you eat 10 cheeseburgers per day, I would never tell anybody, any of my clients, because at the time I was training people, to stop eating those cheeseburgers. I would say, how do you feel about having 8 per day? It's about making progressive changes, something that works for you, not something that works for me or for even you. So coming up next, I want to talk about new unexpected challenges that you're having in your life today that we need to potentially prepare others for. And I say potentially because they may have different unexpected challenges with transformations of their life. Okay, so we'll talk more with Kimala Geist coming up next. 726 Sports Radio 1310 The Ticket. 734 Sports Radio 1310 The Ticket. George DiGianni, Train Station Fitness Show. My good friend Kimala Geist on the show. Kimala, I've known Kimala for about 18 years. If you're just joining us, she's lost 140 pounds. We're talking about her transformation, the challenges that she went through, emotional triggers, the progressions that she's made in her life to hopefully motivate you who wants to get off the roller coaster of dieting or being excited and having bursts of excitement because it's the new year. Or you have a particular goal for going back to your high school reunion or your college reunion, and then all of a sudden you lose it again. How do you continually keep up that motivation? And we're talking with Kimala about that, and I left you with a question about new challenges that are unexpected. But before we do that, you said you wanted to expand upon my progression, not perfection mentality.
I love that so much. I actually, after we talked one day, I used that line and I shared it on my Don't Diet Decide page on my Facebook. And it's interesting how many people clicked on it and liked it or made comments about it. But that is so key, because I think coming from a fat person's mentality, and I say that about myself as being the fat person, nobody else out there, but is that I would often use making bad choices as an excuse to continue to make more bad choices. So for me, that's why deciding to make layered choices or to get rid of layers of things in my life was so important. Because when you go on a diet, you make this decision: I'm not going to have any soda pops, I'm not going to have this, I'm not going to have this, and you wipe up all these things in your life. And then you fail. You're like, oh my gosh, I had that cookie. Mm-hmm. Forget it. Today, I'm just going to it's going to be one of my bad days. It's just going to be a bad day, and it gives you an excuse to continue to eat. No, that's not how it works. Okay, you ate the cookie. So later on that night, just make better good choices or better bad choices, whatever the case may be, so that you are not continuing to add, injury to injury. Mm-hmm. So I think that for a lot of people, when they go on a diet, they set themselves up for that failure. So instead of looking at how you can get rid of everything bad in your life or what you perceive to be bad, it's really about looking at each day what you can do. We have all these different junctures that we come to where we can, even if you go to McDonald's or some fast food restaurant, you go there and you go, I can have a hamburger or I can have a salad. Well, maybe you don't really want the salad, but there are even other things that are in between. Maybe you have a wrap or something like that. I mean, you have so many choices at every juncture in your life where you can at least make a better choice for yourself to move forward. It's not about perfection, like you said. It's about progression and making those choices each day. 1, 2, 3, 5, that you can, where you're going to be better, feel better. and feeling better is key.
Sure. So what new unexpected challenges did you experience, and maybe you still experience today, when it comes to this new mentality and body and lifestyle? Do friends drop off because some of them didn't support you and go along the journey with you because they want to still stay fat and stay where they are? Do people who enabled you continually try to sabotage you, or have they fallen off? What does that look like to you today?
Well, there's a lot of things that you encounter, at least I didn't expect to encounter, especially since I'd been through this, but I was much, much younger, and it's different when you're older and you have so many people who are set in their own ways and their interactions with you. So, yeah, I definitely had friends that I don't necessarily hang out with as much. It's not that there are times in your life.
Are they jealous?
I don't know that they're jealous. I mean, I can't begin to perceive, how they're feeling. But I do know other people who've gone through weight loss challenges in their own life or other challenges in their life, and maybe they weren't as successful as they wanted to be, or maybe they've backslid, and they will say things to you that are hurtful. Like, oh, well, you look great now, but, I know you've lost weight before, so, and they won't even necessarily be like outright catty. Or like when I lost, I guess I'd lost like 120 pounds, somewhere in there. And a lot of people would say, some people saying it nicely would say that I looked gaunt.
Yeah.
My face is relatively thin, especially even compared to my body. And then I had a couple of friends who just flat out told me, it's great that you've lost weight, but you look old.
Wow.
Oh, well, thanks.
Wow.
I mean, I don't want to be mean, but you want to say something nasty to them, and you realize that that's not coming from a place. They're not in a good place.
Right.
Because a friend is not going to say something to you like that that's so incredibly hurtful from a good place.
Do you think maybe they feel guilty because they weren't able to go along this journey with you, and they haven't had the gumption to do it themselves? Well,
in some instances, I know for a fact that there were people who had their own challenges, and seeing me surpass their success, I know that was why I received some of the negative feedback. I know that for a fact because I know what they were struggling through, and I had to keep that in mind. But does that mean that I stopped trying to talk to them about like weight loss and things like that? Because clearly I could see they're not in that place. That's not a discussion I can have with them. And you do get
And you would think you, of all people, could have that discussion with them because of being able to relate to them.
Right. And there are people, especially who you've watched go through their own weight loss journeys or struggle, you think, oh, maybe I can carry some of these people along with me, and not necessarily you're trying to preach to them, but if they're not in that place, they're not in that place. So sometimes you'll actually see people kind of lash out at you in passive aggressive ways. And that can be really, really hurtful. And over time, you find ways to cope with it. Either you stop hanging out with them as much, or you simply have to set better boundaries with them and say, you know what? I appreciate your feedback. I'm not too thin. I used to have friends tell me all the time, oh, you're getting too thin. You're getting too thin. I'm not too thin. I'm healthy. I did this with a doctor in tow. I didn't do this, just namby-pamby.
Right.
I had somebody who was medically supervising me along the way that I checked in with on a regular basis. I'm fully aware of where I am, but I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your concern, and I would stop it there. So you do learn to set boundaries. But
what bothers me is just because there's a change in someone else's eyes, they perceive it as unhealthy. So just because you don't have a fat face or you don't have a fat body, you're considered too thin, but it's really just because you're changed. If someone else met you, they've never met you before, and they see you, they would most likely not think, oh my God, she looks older than her age. How old are you?
12.
Okay, you don't look older than 12. You look about 6.
Thanks.
They would not think you look too thin. Absolutely not, especially in your face.
I look just right.
You look just right. And so it's the guilt, it's the fear, it's the sabotage, it's all of these people who are coming from a bad place. I have to give you credit. I have to applaud you. Because there's no way in hell that I would accept anybody in my life who did not support me moving in a healthy direction in my life. And I would cut their ass out so fast. There's no way I would say, hey, I appreciate where you're coming from, and thank you, but I wouldn't be that nice. So I have to applaud you for the compassion you have, because I don't have that.
Well, you have to remember, though, I know where they're coming from in some regard. Because I watched other friends go through that journey, and I was jealous. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily jealous of me. I don't know where they are, but I know they're not in a great place if they're going to lash out at me because I'm making positive changes in my life.
But Kimala, you have got to be, when I say you, I mean universally, anybody who's trying to go through this transformation has to be in such a strong place
Yes.
not to allow those comments to affect you in a manner that makes you revert back, because that's exactly what they have the potential to do.
They do. You can let anything be a trigger. You can let anything hurt you. You can use it to then go, well, you know what? Maybe I am too skinny. Maybe I do need to have a sandwich. But you know what? People who do that, they're using it as an excuse. And you need to recognize that. If you're thinking, oh, well, this made me feel bad and I'm going to have a sandwich, that needs to be a trigger in your mind that you need to stop and assess why you're reacting in that way. And that's something that actually comes over time. I will tell you, when I set my initial goal to lose 100 pounds in 1 year, and that was my goal from February 14th to February 14th, my Valentine's gift to myself to lose 100 pounds, I don't know why, but I had blinders on. And anybody who said anything to me, I didn't care.
Because you decided that was the
I
end
had
of it.
decided. I had made my decision that I was more important. My health was more important. And don't get me wrong, I've faltered more times than you can shake a stick at. But I had decided that that was my journey. But there does come a time where you do get down, you do start questioning things. And after you've gotten past a certain point and you're not so fixated on just your daily goals, you do have to start addressing why you're having those issues. Why am I 140 pounds overweight? And whether you want to or not, you're going to peel back those layers and you're going to expose yourself and you're going to have to kind of start looking at that stuff. And that's something else that people don't realize comes with weight loss or any major life change, really. That you're going to have to find some things underneath those layers when you start peeling away that you're going to have to deal with.
So that's the part I think is most scary for people. They don't want to look at it, or they think, well, I'm aware of those things. I don't have to look at them any deeper. Well, if you don't think so and you keep getting what you have in your life, whatever that is that you have, and you don't like it, then maybe you need to do something more than what you think you know you are already about yourself to make those changes. That's probably the more difficult part than it is saying, I'm going to have water, I'm going to put this cheeseburger away. It's being consistent, and consistency is hard because that means an emotional change has to come from within you to allow you to be consistent with whatever choices you consciously say you want to behave like, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so you're a mother, you have three children. Coming up next, I want you to talk about how those children's lives have changed, how they see mommy now. Okay, so what did they do before? How have they changed, and how do they see mommy? I want to talk about that. Coming up next with Kimala Geist, 744 Sports Radio 1310, The Ticket.
The Ticket.
753 Sports Radio 1310, The Ticket. George DiGianni, Train Station Fitness Show. My good friend Kimala Geist is here. We're talking about her mentality of don't diet, decide. You can go to her Facebook page, Don't Diet, Decide. Kimala has lost 140 pounds. I've known her 18 years. We're having a great conversation today about what her mentality was like as a fat person who tried to lose weight. And then she decided, and all of a sudden after that decision, and we talked about what those decisions were and how they were layered in her life, she became 140 pounds lighter. We're going to have Kimala on again in January because I want to have a call-in show to have people interact with her and talk about their personal challenges to see how maybe she can help you as well directly. But you have 3 children.
I do.
And I want to talk about how your children ate and maybe even behaved when you were fat. So go ahead and comment on that. We only have a few minutes, so.
Well, for my kids, I focused on my journey first. And now...
But I want to know how they already ate and behaved when you were not focused on your journey.
Right. So my kids ate the same way that I ate.
Okay.
They ate too much junk food. They ate too much fast food. We
Right.
ate fast food so often it was ridiculous.
So are you telling me they didn't have a driver's license to go get their own food?
No, I drove them to the bad food, unfortunately.
There you go. So now you lose. So you're in the middle of losing weight. How did their behavior and or foods change?
Their behavior didn't necessarily change. Their food did improve. I did become more aware. My kids are very, very picky in what they eat, and so unfortunately, we're one of those horrible families where we all tend to eat different things. It's a bad thing, and it's still in some regards is in place. But initially, I focused on myself, and I think there are some parents who try to figure out how to drag their kids along or drag their spouse along in their journey. And if you can do that and you can get them on board, go for it. However, if your kids, especially if you have teenagers and things like that who may be more resistant, my children were very small at the time. But if you have family members that are not going to get on board, then you just need to treat your meal plan like your meal plan. First, focus on you.
Good girl.
So you can't, it's the same thing when you're taking care of yourself. If you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others.
Right.
So first, I focused on my journey. So if you can get your family members and your kids on board and eating healthier with you, that's going to make your journey a lot more enjoyable.
So now talk about your kids now. Are they eating healthier now?
They do eat healthier now. They do not want to eat vegetables. They're your typical kids. They still don't want to eat a lot of the same things, but we don't eat out fast food very often. We don't. They eat a lot better. And not only that, I'm very, very active. I have a set schedule in how I work out. But I do more things that are fun, rock climbing and things like that, indoor rock climbing.
Nice.
I'm not that much of an adventurer. I do a lot of trail walking, running, and things like that. And my kids are now part of those journeys.
And you're doing strength training. People need to know you do a lot of weights.
I do a lot of strength. I don't say a lot, but it's part of my mix. I do strength training 3 times a week. I do cardio-related activities 3 times a week. I'm not saying people should do it that much. It's just what works for me. But I do think that if you're going to work out, especially if you have kids or a spouse, find things that are fun, family fit fun, or just fit fun for yourself, and incorporating that into life. So now my kids are much more active. They do eat better. My kids are not overweight. 2 of them are wicked thin, but one of them, he's actually gotten healthier, and he's actually dropped down a little bit too.
So now we need to discuss. It's very important that we let people know about. I'm not a fan of goals. Certain. I mean, we need to have goals maybe in some sense, but it depends on people who have goals and are afraid of goals, because once you hit that goal, and you kind of have the mentality of now what, and that's when people tend to revert back to where they were. Did you experience the same thing, and where are you today with staying motivated to keep your results and get better?
Yeah, when I was near my goal that my doctor had set for me, which actually I've moved a little bit past, but I was terrified. I was like, okay, I'd had this goal set in mind, and that's what I was going to reach. But somebody, especially who has been overweight and gone through these yo-yo diets, you get to a great place, and you're all excited, and it's like, now what? Now you have to maintain, and you're not sure how to do that. So when I got close to my goal, I just remember being in a panic. I blogged about it. I wrote about it. I shared it with my friends on Facebook and Twitter, and I started asking, actually, instead of internalizing it and keeping it to myself, I started asking for help. I asked my doctor, I asked my friends, I asked people in the fitness community that I knew, started getting feedback. And they've said, first of all, calm down. Even Samantha said it earlier, you need to be compassionate to yourself. Okay, so regardless if you're in your journey or you've reached the end of your journey, you're not going to be perfect all the time, and you need to be aware of that, and that's okay. It's about continuing to make better choices. And I found, for me, now this is not for everybody, but for me, that once I reached that goal, it was about me setting another goal. And maybe that goal is that I'm going to maintain for another 30 days that same weight. Or maybe it's that I'm going to run a 5K in 30 days. So a fun 5K, like the Color Run or something like that. And you don't have to run it. You can walk it, by the way. But finding fun things to set your mind to in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
We only have a minute, and I really have to ask this question. It's the holidays. How do you contend with holiday parties, all the bad food that's around? What do you do? Give somebody a tip.
If you're going to go to a holiday party, be prepared. Set yourself up for success. Either make sure that you don't go to the parties hungry, first of all. Make sure that you're fueling your body properly. And if you're going to have a little holiday treat at the party, you need to make sure you're eating extra clean earlier in the day, so that, if you're going to have that, at least you're offset. And don't make that something every day. Oh, it's, the holidays, so I'm going to have a cupcake or, a piece of holiday candy every single day. No. If you're going to have moments where you're going to have a little bit of sweet treat, okay. And then once you have it, do not beat yourself up about it. The next day, just work a little bit harder and know that you move on.
Yeah, I think the trick is, it's just like going to the grocery store. You're going to go grocery shopping. Never go grocery shopping hungry.
I never go to a holiday party hungry. That is just, that's stupid. I'm sorry.
Kimla, I love your commitment. I love your motivation, your new direction in life. You've got a plan. It shows that just because we get older, it doesn't mean we have to be set in our ways and reserve ourselves to being on medication forever, or some medications, or being fat, or being broke, or whatever that is. You can change your mind. Don't diet. Decide on Facebook. We're going to have you on again in January, because I want to have a live call-in show where people can interact with you and maybe you can help them one-on-one as well.
That'd be amazing.
Love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.